call this meeting to order. Now that Councilor Ramirez has arrived, 6 p.m.
Hello, everyone.
6 p.m. on March 2nd. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco. Here. Councilmember Klein.
Here.
Councilmember Fugazzi.
Here.
Councilmember Hilton.
Here.
Councilmember Marks. Here. Councilmember Ramirez. Here. Mayor Bozo.
Here. Item 1.3, City Clerk's report on posting of the agenda, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This agenda was posted on Monday, February 23rd at 4:37 p.m.
Okay, today's invocation will be led by Councilmember Klein, and then there's no invocation today. Excuse me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we have no orders of the day. Today we have no employee introductions, so I'm going to move right to item number 2.1. We have a proclamation for Youth Arts Month this evening, and so I will come out and read that and join you at the front. Okay, Sonia, thank you very much for being here this evening. I'll read this, and then I'll let you say a few words, and then we'll take a picture with the rest of us.
Great, thanks.
Okay. So, City of Gilroy proclamation. Whereas the City of Gilroy supports the Santa Clara County Board of Education's commitment to supporting the arts to inspire and prepare students for success in the 21st century and allowing them to develop as productive, contributing members of a strong community. And whereas March is recognized as Youth Art Month at the national level by the National Association for Music Education, the National Art Education Association, the National Dance Education Organization, and the Educational Theater Association. And whereas we share the vision of ensuring that students have access to high-quality arts education that is culturally relevant and inclusive in all forms as part of a comprehensive education that sparks curiosity, imagination, creativity, and joy. And whereas the City of Gilroy recognizes the positive impact of the arts in the healthy development of its youth, including through the creation of murals in public spaces, participation in poetry out loud by students from T.J. Owens, Gilroy Early College Academy, and Christopher High School, youth workshops at the 6th Street Studio and Art Center, and in-school and after-school art classes in numerous Gilroy Unified Schools. Now, therefore, I, Greg Bozo, Mayor of the City of Gilroy, on the second day of March 2026, along with my colleagues on the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2026 as Youth Arts Month and encourage youth to express themselves in the arts and to use a variety of arts in classrooms and communities in the City of Gilroy and Santa Clara County. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Botso and members of the Gilroy City Council. Thank you for supporting arts education in our schools by presenting this proclamation to celebrate March as Youth Arts Month. I'm Dr. Sophia Fojas, the Arts Coordinator for the Santa Clara County Office of Education. I lead Artspiration, which is the SCCOE's arts initiative at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. And I also partner with SV Creates, I know a great partner of Gilroy, around the Arts Ed Connect grant. This month, we have two events that are free. At RAFT on March 7th, we are having our first ever Arts Education Resource Fair, and it's open to the public. We do have, RAFT is also having their open shopping day, so it's going to be very busy there. And that will take place this Saturday from 9 to 1. And we're also hosting at the Mexican Heritage Plaza Theater on March 20th, starting at 6 o'clock, which is a Friday, the free fourth annual Mariachi and Ballet Folklorico Vivo Mariachi Showcase. So we really look forward to hosting this for our students and our communities. So I just want to say that on behalf of the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and as a child myself who grew up in the public schools and learned music and became a music teacher, thank you so much for recognizing March as Youth Arts Month. Thank you. All right. Yes, I did.
Okay, we're going to jump to item number 3. This is presentations to council. So this is public comment by members of the public on items not on the agenda but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council.
Thank you. I have 4 speakers. I'll call up Jess Moreno, then Cindy Nunez, Ron Kirkish, and then Greg Felios, please.
Thank you.
Mayor Boza, members of the City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm kind of piggybacking on the sad situation that happened in January with the 2 individuals that were killed near Los Animas School. I've lived on 10th Street for over 40 years, and I have approached the city 3 times. This is the 3rd presentation I've done since 1976. I've met with Mayor Gage, Velasco, and Blankley. I've done petitions. I have gone door to door. I wrote an article in the Dispatch in 2014 about citizens being outraged at the speed that's going from Church Street to Prince Valley, and nothing's been done. Nothing has been done. I have met with different officials from the City Council over the years. The past 3 years, I've had a chance to talk to Councilman Hilton, who's told me 2023 that I won't get changes on 10th Street. I met with him. I talked with him briefly in 2025 in November. They were both at the Ofrenda festival, and he told me this past year that it's not only City Council, but it's also the community. So the community's crying out for changes. You know, I live on 10th Street, and I see the traffic flying by in there, and nothing is happening. A year or so ago, year and a half ago, Mr. Bjarke was out there. He was the interim city director here. He talked with us, and when we were done with our conversation, he tried walking one of my neighbors across the street, and he almost got run over. Okay, and so I'm very well aware of arterial roads. I met with Mr. Heap a couple of years ago when he was here, and I think he was one of the individuals that helped develop the plan. So I'm familiar with that stuff, and I know there's 4 arterial roads. But we have to ask ourselves, what's more important, an arterial road or public safety? And, you know, we have neighbors there that are the eyes and ears, and we see that stuff. We see people flying by there. Maybe not so much during the school hours, but that's constant. And the only thing that was ever happened was Mayor Blankley was able to get some changes right off of the street, off of 10th and Church. But she approached me one day at church at St. Mary's and told me point blank, that's not going to solve the problem on 10th Street. So I'm asking the city to really, you know, put forth some effort, because what's going to end up happening is somebody's going to get killed out there. The last thing I'll say, about 2 years ago, there was an accident on Rosanna at 10th Street, okay? It was in the evening, and 3-car accident. I sent an email to Mayor Blankley, and what really got me and my 2 daughters, there was a child crying And a parent got out of you, what the hell is wrong with you? I have an 8-month-old child here. But the question is, when I wrote that article for the Dispatch, is anybody listening on the city council? The answer was no. Is anybody listening now? I doubt it, but there needs to be some changes. There have to be changes on that 10th Street. So thank you for you taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you, Jess. Next is Cindy.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. First of all, I want to thank the Mayor for supporting a formal volunteer crossing guard pilot program at Las Animas. I'm ready to help, however, and I'm just looking for the next steps and hearing what is next to be done. Also, until signage is added, I will continue serving as a crossing guard for my neighbors at the corner where the accident took place. Now, I understand the city is conducting a safety study, and we're waiting on this study to be completed before requested enhanced pedestrian safety measures are acted upon. However, in the interim, we are requesting at minimum a visible school warning sign to be added on Charles Lux before Lopez, specifically on the approach from 10th Street. Currently, there is no signage warning drivers that they're approaching a school zone, and this stretches within 500 feet of the school. The California UT-CD Part 7 recommends school warning signs be placed within 500 feet of schools, and Vehicle Code 22358.4 makes it very clear that reduced school speeds must be posted to be enforceable. Installing a compliant sign now aligns with these standards and does not require waiting for a study. So answer me this: why do we need a study to tell us to add a school zone sign? 2 lives were lost. Their deaths should not be in vain. Let's honor Andy and Stacia, not only with remembrance, but by action. Prevention is always easier than regret, and we have the opportunity to be responsible and act now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Cindy. Next is Ron.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and community. As you are aware now, there's been a lot of issues going on with the flock cameras in our county, different cities. And what we have is a group of people going from city to city trying to use privacy as a canard to get people to turn off the flock cameras. These cameras are very important for our police department to keep us safe. They help solve issues very timely, like auto theft, kidnapping, murder. We had a murder about a year ago or so that was solved when we found that a flock camera from Morgan Hill caught the guy, and we caught him very quickly. He was actually in Sacramento, and the murder happened right in South Valley Junior High School. Pedophiles and rapists. These are the kind of crimes are very important to solve timely, but these people, I don't know if it's their intention, but they want to protect these criminals by forcing us not to use these cameras. So again, I say what it is the public safety issue is a canard, and in truth, they're trying to reduce these criminals from getting caught using these cameras. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Greg is next.
Time for a public comment. A shout out for last week was the first time I'd ever been to a Gilroy Chamber of Commerce networking luncheon. It was fabulous. This is where all the people get together, and every month the Gilroy Chamber of Commerce has a luncheon where everybody gets together, and it's a camaraderie thing. And one of the things I thought was really, really cool is, people say, you'll see different groups. I mean, in this, who are in the same area of commerce. And even though people think, they're competing against one another, And I like the fact that it's not so much competing as, oh, I'm going to do better. The fact that they're supporting each other. And it's nice to see that each other, for instance, like the wine, if the wine industries who are involved in this, people, they say, hey, if you get, would you recommend any other place I should go visit? And they'll definitely support each other. They'll say, hey, you gotta go check this place out. Same thing with a lot of the restaurants. People say, oh, this is good. Everything else. So any other restaurants you recommend? And they tell each other, this is a way of by supporting each other, by giving each other positive feedback, you get people involved in all areas in wanting to visit these other places. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. Even though they were supposedly competitors with one another, they were supportive of one another, and that's what. And the same thing I like to see. I like to see that in schools. I like to see that in competitions. So thank you so much, and I'll be going to more Gilroy Chamber of Commerce networking just so I can see each other, see the support of each other, and learning about what businesses are available. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
I have no further speakers.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 4, reports of council members. Councilmember Bracco.
Yes. I attended a meeting of the Joint Powers Authority, the county libraries, and we recognized Gilroy library assistant Juan Guzman for his outstanding service. And we also, I told you all about the Dolly Parton had given us a grant and stuff. And we've received about 17,000 kids are on that program now, getting a free book every month. Thank you.
Councilmember Fugazi.
Just wanted to take a moment to express my appreciation to those who are in the armed forces doing the hard work right now overseas, and hope that each and every one of you put them in your thoughts, and some of them certainly in your prayers, and their families as well, for the hard work that they're doing right now around the world, and especially out there in the Middle East. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Marks.
No report.
Councilmember Hilton.
Thank you. From the Valley Transportation Authority Policy Advisory Committee, I've seen the January Caltrain South County Connector ridership numbers. Monday through Friday, 4 trains north in the morning, 4 trains south in the evening. These 5 stations south of Tamian are not electrified, and Caltrain doesn't own the tracks. Union Pacific Railroad does. Caltrain South County Connector doesn't have the impact needed to relieve congestion on U.S. Route 101 today or historically. It's not fiscally responsible to fund Caltrain South County Connector at $15 million per year for 405 riders, Monday through Friday, when they aren't serving the current travel patterns, and while VTA is facing a fiscally constrained fiscal year 26 and 27 transit operating budget. Caltrain is heading into a deficit for fiscal year 27 that can only be solved by them taking a state loan. Although VTA staff has stated that they will not cut frequent daily Gilroy VTA bus service in order to keep Caltrain service, I remain concerned that Caltrain staff will try to pursue this. The total standing room capacity of the 4 trains that make up the service has a capacity of 1,900 riders and 96 bikes. In 2023, the Caltrain's average annual daily traffic at Cochrane in Morgan Hill was 142,000 vehicles per day. We continue to talk about this at our South County VTA agenda preparation meetings and VTA staff and Caltrain staff. We are focused on moving the most people on mass transit from Gilroy to Diridon. We track and budget the ridership cost from both agencies, and we've been comparing them for a long time. When ridership is low, services get cut. That is a given. Lastly, I had the opportunity to travel to the state capitol with the delegation of local electeds, including Councilmember Ramirez from Speaker Robert Rivas' Assembly District 29. We were greeted and provided a briefing by Speaker Rivas along with several Assembly members on the work they're doing this year. We received updates on the work that is being done from chairs of the Housing Committee, Human Services Committee, and Transportation Committee. After lunch and a tour of the Assembly chambers, we received a budget update from Jason Cisney, who is the Speaker's policy lead on the budget. Thank you to the Speaker's staff who made this possible and who took care of us. Also, save the date on March 27th, 5:30 to 7:30 at Brownell Middle School. GUSD, City of Gilroy, South County Task Force, and many other partners will be hosting an e-bike and traffic safety community forum with Q&A, free dinner, and more. So look for that flyer coming out soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Ramirez.
So in addition to going to the state capitol, several of us attended the State of the Valley put on by the Silicon Valley Joint, my mind just went blank.
Joint ventures.
Joint ventures, thank you. And we learned basically there was a study done and data was provided. And the good news is that we have an incredible amount of wealth in this valley. The bad news is only a very small percentage of the population has that wealth, and there is a very large discrepancy in the wealth that is distributed, and those are the challenges that we up here have to face and deal with. So, I look forward to joining my colleagues up here and rolling up our sleeves and seeing what we can do.
Thank you. Councilmember Klein.
No report.
Okay, so my report from Gilroy Gardens Board of Directors. Last week, the Gilroy Gardens Board of Directors approved for staff to spend up to $1 million on different maintenance priorities throughout the park. These projects will reflect state-regulated safety measures, aesthetic measures that are related to guest satisfaction, and income and revenue-producing projects. The idea is that the Gilroy Gardens staff will start spending about $500,000 to get halfway through the year, and they would like to reevaluate throughout the year to see how the income is going for this fiscal year, and then at that point they'll decide if they would like to spend another $500,000. Some of the things that we've talked about in the past here and at Gilroy Gardens is that there is quite a bit of deferred maintenance out there, so this is a giant step forward that we've been able to set aside this type of money to do this type of work. So I'm hoping that the public will notice as this year goes on, you'll see improvements at Gilroy Gardens. Secondly, last night I attended the South Valley Islamic Community Ramadan Iftar, and this is an organization. The South Valley Islamic Community is an organization that started in Gilroy in 1999 with about 20 people, and now they're up to about 500 members. And I and many other some electeds from the South County and some service providers were there last night. We had some members from Morgan Hill Council, including Mayor Mark Turner, and we had members from Supervisor Arenas' office and other nonprofit organizations. And what I found there last night is, what I found very interesting is within the Islamic community organization here, there are 19 different ethnicities within their organization, including Fiji, Malaysia, Morocco, Indonesia, France, Sri Lanka, England, South Africa, and even Chile. So it's a very diverse group, and they do a lot of important volunteering and financial support in this South County, including the Armory, the Salvation Army, Rebecca Children's Services, and the Safe Car Park in Morgan Hill. It was a very, very, very nice event. We had dinner. So they wait until sunset before they break their fast, the daily fast, and it was a great event, and I'm looking forward to doing more work with the South Valley Islamic community in the future. So that concludes my report. And we'll move right on to the first agendized item. Item number 5 is introduction of new business, approval of amended and restated Municipal Pooling Authority joint exercise of a powers agreement. Leanne, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the community. Tonight's item is approving an amended and restated joint exercise of powers agreement with Municipal Pooling Authority. Municipal Pooling Authority is the insurance risk pool that the City of Gilroy belongs to with some other agencies in order to secure cost-effective insurance. We joined this risk pool in 2015, and that includes SCRAW for purposes of property insurance coverage. The pool was originally started in 1977, and again, it was to address the cost of insurance. It was just an expensive item for a lot of municipalities, And by pooling together, we're able to use economies of scale to get reduced premiums for our general liability insurance, property, vehicle physical damage, crime and deadly weapons policy, cyber coverage, errors and emissions, et cetera. There's 21 member agencies participating in the pool. So general liability is the main coverage that we get from this risk pool. Our direct coverage within MPA is $1 million, less our self-insured retention of $50,000. And then through the California Risk Management Authority, we secure excess insurance. There's a direct pool of $9 million of coverage that exceeds the MPA 1 million layer, and then purchasing, again, another layer of excess insurance, $10 million to $32 million. So we're able to get that much insurance by economies of scale and pulling together with the other agencies. The MPA group is governed by a board of directors. Each of the 21 agencies has a primary representative and an alternate representative that serve on the board. In my role as the HR Director Risk Manager, I've served as the primary representative, and the city administrator has served as the alternate representative. And then within the board and within the participants, there's subcommittees on different topics, and one of those topics that we periodically dig into is our coverage and governance. And so there is a coverage and governance committee, and they periodically evaluate the main core documents that support this JPA, so the JPA agreement, the bylaws, and our memorandum of coverage. And so what sparked the item before you tonight is through the Governance and Coverage Committee was reviewing our JPA agreement. It was a little bit outdated. The agencies that joined when the pool originally formed had not ever gone back and readopted it. And so the Governance and Coverage Committee felt that there were some minor updates needed. Also, our legal counsel for the pool also felt that there was some updates that were needed to the document. So it was reviewed by the committee, then reviewed at the board level, and then it was pushed out to each of the 21 member agencies to conduct their own internal review. So here in Gilroy, this was reviewed in the city administrator's office. It was also reviewed by Andy Faber, our city attorney, and then I also conducted a review of the documents. And then following the initial review by agencies, it went back to the board with feedback that was provided by each of the participating agencies, and then reached sort of a final place, sort of a final draft that was adopted by the board. The board said, okay, we've given all the feedback that we have to give on this, and so now we are ready to proceed forward. And so the next step is for each agency that's a member of the Municipal Pooling Authority JPA is to adopt the agreement by resolution. So that's the action item for you tonight. The main edits to the JPA agreement include confirming the establishment of the JPA and the government code sections that give rise to that, including language specifying limitations on JPA powers as recommended by CAJAPA. CAJAPA is the accrediting agency that reviews risk pools such as MPA and makes sure that the pool is in compliance with all these different regulations that we need to have in order to be a provider of insurance for municipalities. And we want to be CAJAPA certified. That's an important thing that an agency should look at when if you're looking to change what JPA you belong to, it would be a plus if your risk pool is CAJAPA certified. Clarifying member agency responsibilities, clarifying the obligations of member agencies when an agency may withdraw from the pool or if there was ever an expulsion. And then they just updated the formatting and ensured that consistent terminology was used throughout the document. So this, like I said, was reviewed by the Gilroy City Attorney and myself. Andy even spoke with the MPA attorney to clarify a few certain points. Gilroy was one of the agencies that asked a lot of questions about this and wanted to make sure we understood exactly what was changing and what we were going to be approving. So now we're at a place where each of the agencies are taking this to their city councils. All 21 agencies are doing that. About half have done it so far, and the other half are finishing up this month. And so the action before you tonight is to adopt a resolution approving the amended and restated Municipal Pooling Authority Joint Exercise of Powers Agreement, and that's providing us with property, public liability, and other insurance coverages. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. If there's any questions on the items that were changed. In your packet, there was a more detailed staff report. There was a clean version of the JPA agreement, as well as a red line version that showed you the changes that were being made. So happy to answer any questions. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Looks like we have no questions. Any public comment?
I have no speakers.
Okay, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Bracco and a second by Councilmember Ramirez to adopt a resolution approving the amended and restated Municipal Pool Authority Joint Exercise of Powers Agreement for providing property, public liability, and other insurance coverages. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Bozo?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item number 5.2, open meeting and teleconference requirements and approval of policy on distributions to public participation during remote or hybrid meetings. Kim will be going first. All right.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of the community. Tonight, along with the City Attorney's Office, we'll be providing a report on Senate Bill 707, SB 707, and related amendments to the Brown Act, along with the recommendation to adopt a required policy addressing disruptions to telephonic or internet services during public meetings. So we have a PowerPoint presentation. And Andy, did you want to come on up?
Indeed. It doesn't. Okay. I can just do it here. Thanks. Leanne said the last item was straightforward. This one is, if you try to read it, anything but straightforward. I call it the new Brown Act because it's the greatest revision to the Brown Act in quite a few years, and the text itself of the law is complex. It's kind of hard to figure out how it all relates to each other. However, I've been through it, and I'm going to try to explain it to you and give you just an overview of the major items, because they are things that are, they give new abilities for teleconferencing, but they also put requirements on the city council and the staff. SB 707 has three major things in it. The first is it expands teleconferencing for members. In other words, there are more avenues for you as council members to appear remotely at a teleconferenced meeting than there used to be. Secondly, it requires public participation, meaning that as of July 1st, we are going to have public participation via Zoom or a similar service in council meetings, and that's going to be a big task for Kim. There are also many individual items that, again, really are effective for the city clerk more than anybody else, involving translation, ability to have translators available, ability to have the agenda itself translated and posted, and inclusivity items of outreach to communities that don't speak English as their primary language. So teleconferencing. Teleconferencing means, as used in SB 707, when council members participate not all from the same place. So normally that would mean we have a meeting here, but one or more council members is somewhere else. Under SB 707, there are kind of three avenues of teleconferencing now available to a city council. The first is what I call here the old Brown Act. Second is just cause. In other words, reasons why someone may call in that are recognized by the Brown Act as being appropriate reasons to have a teleconference. And the third is disability. And we'll get to that in just a moment. So the first of these is I call it, again, the old Brown Act. This has been around forever, and we've used it in Gilroy. You can call in if the council okays it from somewhere else, there's no particular reason. It doesn't have to be a medical emergency or something like that. It can be on vacation. We've had council members call in from, I recall, Toronto for one council member visiting his family on vacation. The location, however, it has to be prearranged. The location has to be stated on the agenda. The council must agree to do this. And the interesting part is that the agenda has to be posted at the remote site, like the door in Toronto in the hotel, and the public has to be allowed in. So in theory, the public could have gone in and visited the council member in his hotel room, because that's sort of before the era of common teleconferencing. That was really the only way to make sure that the public could participate and kind of ride herd on what the absent council member was doing. That's still available. That approach to teleconferencing still can be used. Under the old Brown Act, it must be audio or visual or both. So that's one approach. Just cause is a little different. The concept of just cause came about in AB 2449, which was a COVID era. I say era, but I mean a few years ago, 2022. A bill introduced passed by the legislature, and it allowed certain causes to be considered just causes, such that the person who could establish a just cause was allowed to participate remotely. There are limits. SB 707 takes that concept and repeals it, but expands it at the same time. There are limits. So a member of a council like this can use this just cause no more than 5 times a year. They must use audio and visual technology. The quorum still has to be here at the meeting place, so only a smaller number can do it. And the reasons, if they're non-medical, must be stated in the minutes. Now, the question is, what is just cause? Now there's a list. There's a defined list that's in the statute, including child or family caregiving, and they've expanded that. That existed before, and now it's been expanded to cover a variety of relationships, including grandparents and grandchildren, both. Contagious illness, official travel, that doesn't include vacations. So just cause is not a vacation, but travel on behalf of this city or another public entity. Physical or family mental emergencies, et cetera. Actually, I shouldn't say et cetera, because there's one that's very interesting. It's in quotes here. A need related to a physical or mental condition that is not a disability. This is unclear, but interesting. There have been city councils where council members couldn't stand the sight of each other, or felt intimidated by one or another, or felt anxious. And I don't want to suggest thoughts here, but because this is less than a disability, this would include anxiety, I would think, and various other kinds of issues. So we don't know how that's going to be fleshed out, but that's what the statute actually says.
Andy, question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Official travel, other business travel would be included in that, or not?
No.
So not just
only
vacation.
official
Meaning
travel,
official city business.
city business or another public entity business, but not vacation, not business travel. Okay, disability. This is interesting because there had been an attorney general opinion that said an essential job function of being a council member was attending meetings. So there was this attorney general opinion said that if a council member was, for some reason, could not attend meetings, then that council member could not be a council member. You could not make a reasonable accommodation to essentially call in remotely. SB 707 reverses that. So now, in fact, disability is required as assuming the city would make a reasonable accommodation as the employer. And this is a kind of complication, but presumably I think the state is essentially telling us that assuming the person is sort of mentally okay, then in fact a reasonable accommodation would be allowing remote participation. This must be done. In other words, this is not an optional thing for the council. If someone requests a disability, they have to deal with it. There's no limit on the number of times per year. The reasons don't have to be disclosed. Audio and visual are both required unless there's some problem that prevents, for example, a camera being used. And interestingly, the quorum, which I said must be at the meeting, for a disabled person is treated as being here. So actually, it's as though the disabled person were at the meeting, and so they do not detract from the quorum at the physical location. So this is new. Okay, requirements for all teleconferencing, and this is where Kim is going to have to get involved and plan how. Do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
So when you're teleconferencing, I know we do roll call votes here anyhow. If you do have a quorum present and everyone's here, you could always say, all in favor, aye. We perform roll call, but it must be done if there's anybody that's teleconferencing in. You have to disclose the presence of anyone that's over the age of 18 in the room. You must use audio-visual unless a disability prevents it. And the quorum must be at the meeting site, unless it's a disability teleconferencer, which is treated as part of the quorum.
Okay, thank you. So this all relates to teleconferencing for you. The really interesting part, and this is the part that is going to put some stress on the staff, I believe, is the remote public participation, which now is going to be required as of July 1st of this year. And that requires that council meetings have two-way audiovisual or telephonic, and I believe you're planning audiovisual, communication for members of the public. You must allow public comment remotely with the same time as people would have here. And this brings us to kind of the threshold thing tonight. The council must adopt a disruption policy. I'm not talking about, at the moment, behavioral disruption. I'm talking about internet disruption. So that's the policy that actually is in front of you, which is a variant of one that was recommended by the City Clerks Association. But in essence, what it says is that if the internet goes out, then immediately the open session has to be halted. And it cannot be resumed until at least an hour has passed or the connection has been restored, whichever occurs first. So the city is essentially required to spend an hour trying to solve the problem, figuring out what the problem is. This may have staffing requirements also, because the question is who will do this and how will it be done. During this portion, the city, if there are closed sessions on the agenda, the council could meet in closed session, but not in open session, because the open session requires that the public participation be available. So assuming if it's not fixed, then the council has two choices. Either essentially you can adjourn the meeting, or you can make a finding on the record that good faith efforts were made to restore service, and the public interest in resuming the meeting outweighs the public interest in the remote participation. So you can continue with the public meeting if you make that finding. Let me go back for a second. Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, I didn't see it anywhere in the packet, but if there's a disruption and we wait a few minutes and nothing happens, we can decide, okay, let's go into closed session on this one item that we have, just, to save time later in the evening. And we start our closed session, and within a few moments it comes back on. Is there anything that says you must then immediately stop the closed session, or can you finish the closed session?
No, there's nothing that says you must stop the closed
Okay.
session. So my interpretation is you can continue, finish that item of business, then resume the open session. Yeah, assuming it's fixed, of course.
Andy, can you go back one slide? No.
Which one?
The one where it says there. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, or?
The good faith efforts and public interest outweighs and the determination is made by how? By a vote of council, or?
Yes, majority vote of the council.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, there is also a little bit in this new law about disruptive behavior. And you recall that there is presently the ability to expel someone if they, and I quoted the statute again, actually disrupt, disturb, impede, or render infeasible the orderly conduct of the meeting. A person must first be warned unless there is what the statute calls a true threat of force, in which case the city can take action without warning. Similarly, you are allowed to cut off remote participants, in other words, Zoom bombers, people who get on. And I guess Kim is going to have the button for that, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. In theory, you have to warn the Zoom bomber too. We have a little more control, and I believe that under your policy, the public will not be participating visually. Is that correct? I mean, in other words, you won't see them.
Correct.
Okay.
So they will not have the ability to share their screen or be shown on camera. It will be using Zoom webinar, so they will only be able to be in remote. And if we do have a disruption, the mayor will warn them, and if they continue, he'll give me the cut them off.
Right. And as you know, as we've discussed once before, I don't think we've ever had to do it here, though. It is possible, if people are so disruptive, to actually clear the room and then resume the meeting. You have to let the press back in, and typically people who are not disruptive, if they're isolated by groups, and you can tell. There's an interesting case that came out of Berkeley a couple of months ago where the city council did that. They cleared the room, and then they resumed in another room in City Hall. So it'd be like resuming in the administrative conference room or something like that. And the court said you can't do that because that's not an announced meeting site on the agenda. So it was improper. And this actually got litigated, believe it or not. But the court did determine that it was improper to go to another room, even though it was, I don't think anyone was lost or anything. But nonetheless, so you can come back into the council chambers if necessary. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim here. This is sort of a slide that summarizes some of the things that she as the clerk is going to have to worry about in terms of outreach and translations.
Thank you, Andy. So part of the requirement is that we will have to have our agendas, not the full packet, but the agenda, translated in all applicable languages for Gilroy. So all applicable languages is 20% of your population that speaks another language or speaks English less than very well. So for us, it would be Spanish. So we will be required to be translating all of our agendas into Spanish. We're also required to provide outreach to different groups, posting the agendas and translations, including a publicly accessible posting board. So we will have to have an additional posting board out that is accessible and open to the public. If they want to translate our agenda in any language, they can, and they can post it outside. The city is not responsible for the content, and we will be monitoring that posting board. It has to be, we have to have an accessible public webpage with instructions on how to access and participate in the meetings. So with that translation, just making sure that that's on both agendas. And we must allow non-disruptive live translation and accommodate for space, time, and use of equipment. So if somebody does request translation, we have to provide it. And we do have our Wordly currently now, which does meet the requirement for SB 707, but this does have us reaching out to a kind of the broader community.
Okay, well, I think that concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer questions. There's a lot more in this law that we haven't covered yet, but those are the main points.
Councilmember Bracco will go first.
Andy, does the state legislature, do they hold themselves to this? Are they going to go by it?
That is a very naive question. No, it does not apply to state legislature.
What I find, as usual, anything they do, they leave it pretty vague so the attorneys can come in and pick it apart and sue everybody. Right? I mean, there's a lot, it says something, but it doesn't say much.
Yeah, I would say actually in this case, it's almost the opposite of vague. It's hyper detailed, but in ways that are not always consistent from section to section. The net result may be the same, though.
Any other questions?
Okay.
We have some public
Then I guess we take public comment, and then the action item would be to adopt the policy.
You got it.
I have one other question for staff, Greg.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Do we have any anticipated analysis on the cost associated with enabling all of this? And are there other infrastructure changes, for instance, that would help us prevent such outages from happening, like additional Starlink or something like that? Have we thought about those kinds of things?
I can't speak for the infrastructure, but as far as the costs, we do have to upgrade our equipment to allow for the Zoom. So that's on order right now. That's about $6,000, a one-time cost. And then we'll have our subscription for the Zoom webinars, which we estimate at $3,800 per year. It's going to be less than that. That was just a rough estimate that I had put in.
Okay, thank you.
On the infrastructure side, we are working on, so we have a fiber feed coming from the north with Verizon / whoever bought Frontier. I think you've just bought Verizon. We're looking at a redundant line that would head south with a different company, so we'd have that redundancy there. So different fiber, different trench, all of those redundancies.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, we'll go to public comment.
One speaker, Mr. Ron Curtis.
Okay, take it away. Ron, you have 3 minutes.
Thanks again, Mayor. Andy, did I hear you say that one of the things that the council can do or the city clerk can do is block conversations from other locations?
Mayor, through the council, through the mayor, we can block disruptive behavior that could be preventing the meeting from going forward in an orderly fashion. We cannot, under this law, just block somebody because they're from some other state, for example, or there are people in New York who want to come.
I thought I heard you say something like that, but I guess I was wrong. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron. Any other public comment?
I have no further speakers.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for staff? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Receive a report on updates regarding Senate Bill 707, SB 707, amending the Ralph M. Brown Act, and adopt a city policy on disruptions of telephonic or internet service during public meetings in compliance with Senate Bill 707.
A motion?
I have a motion by Councilmember Klein
Second.
and a second by Councilmember Ramirez. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco? Sure. Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Bozo?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item number 6, City Administrator Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things to report today. I met last week with LAFCO and then participated today in LAFCO's selection process for a study to do a wastewater and regular potable water supply study that they do countywide. This will look at the various service providers and make recommendations ultimately for potential different service delivery models, including consolidations, something that LAFCO does across services. But more importantly, I think it's important for us to be connected to LAFCO and was glad to be able to provide that service with them. Secondly, with respect to Los Animas School, we are in contract with our engineering study. The consultant will be out over the next 10 days or so on site doing their studies. We also were able to take advantage of the police department's drones to fly and hold sort of a steady traffic pattern at AM and PM pickup times, so we have a great visual of what vehicles and pedestrian traffic looks like from right above the school, which is something that most traffic consultants don't get in their analyses. So it's, I think, a great opportunity to add another layer of data into the analysis. So we're excited about that. And then finally, I asked the Public Works Director last week to take a look at speed limits around schools to see if there's anything proactive we can do there, taking advantage of current and ever-evolving state laws. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Matt. Item number 7, City Attorney's Report.
I have no report, but we do have a city attorney closed session. Shall I?
Okay, please do.
Item 8.1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Gilroy versus Superior Court, Law Foundation of Silicon Valley versus Superior Court, Respondent is the City of Gilroy, the real party in interest. Cal Supreme Court case numbers S282937 and S282950, filed January 22, 2020. So we should first take public comment, then I will advise you legally to go into closed session, and then we'll take a vote on whether to do that. So is there any public comment?
I have no speakers.
All right, in that case, I advise you as the city attorney that to discuss this matter in open session would inevitably prejudice the position of the city, and therefore advise that we go into closed session. We can do a thumbs up, thumbs down vote.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
The vote is unanimous to go into closed session, so we will now adjourn to closed session.
Adjourn to closed session. Thank you.